Good morning.
Good morning, coffee moaners. Welcome to Coffee Moaning, whether you are a newbie or an oldie or an occasional.
Or a moaner or a groaner. Even if you don't like coffee, you don't have to be here. I love coffee.
I know this is a terrible thing to say, but I'm so glad it's not as hot as it was yesterday.
Oh, so am I. Look,
I know we're supposed to just be grateful, but...
A dark, magical substance that helps you to hate people with more energy. I'm not entirely sure that's probably the right thing to actually wear today. Guess who that's from?
Who?
Someone who can speak angrily very easily. Dina. Yeah, Dina. Good morning, everyone. How are you all? Christopher Cundall, how are you? Missed you. Stacey Randall, are you in the room? Are you around? I hope you're well. I haven't seen Tori. Look. So
hi, Tori. We don't often see you live.
No, bless you. Steph Schultz, Carla Hatcham, April Hill. How are you, darling? Julie the Singing Nutcase. Thanks again for all of the memberships that you gifted yesterday. Incredibly kind. MeTube. Hi. Something sweet, something savoury. Coffee addict here too. Of course you are. Something sweet, something savoury. Down the hatch.
Okay, so what are we talking about today? My God, we wish we weren't talking about it. Just disgusted. We are an embarrassment to the world with this behaviour in Southport. We're also going to be talking about the Hamas chief who was killed last night. Apparently there is another one that may have been as well that is under the rubble. That hasn't been confirmed yet. Did you know about that? I meant to say. Also, relationship red lines. What would be your red line? This is off the back of Huw Edwards and his wife divorcing. And budgie smugglers. Budgie smuggler blushes.
Budgie smugglers. Well, anyway, so yeah, we thought we'd pop that in there just to have a bit of a chuckle.
We're going to show you some pictures of Tom Daly.
Basically, we're going to show you some budgies. Wouldn't it be funny if we just saw lots of budgies? The first thing I think we should talk about is Southport. And the first clip I think we should show you in Southport is this. I'm not suggesting for a minute that this is what instigated or started the violence that happened yesterday, or, you know, the riots that kicked off in Southport, which have been hideous. They were raging last night, surrounded a mosque. We'll get into the kind of really quite mind-bogglingly stupid connections that have been made in Southport. I mean, it beggars belief, the sort of moronic, prehistoric kind of thought processes that have been at work there.
And how awful for the families and all those people that are involved. How awful. But on top of all of that, this is going on. Disgusting.
So there are two very different things here. And I do think they are two different things that deserve some kind of attention. And I think they need to be sort of tiptoed around quite carefully. One, there is the completely wrong conflation of the criminal, awful, diabolical act that happened yesterday by this 17-year-old boy, of whom we're going to talk a bit more about in a minute, about who he is, or what we know about him. The connection the certain groups made between that act and the local Muslim community, but also a feeling amongst the local community totally separate to race, I think, and immigration and anything else, which I think is articulated in the sort of heckling that Keir Starmer got when he attended yesterday to lay the flowers at the memorial.
Is it mine next? Bye-bye. Got your photos, off you go. Make a real change, Prime Minister. Make a real change! Our children! Go away!
Now,
how many more children? Is it mine next? Stand up for our children. Bye-bye. Got your photos, off you go. Make a real change, Prime Minister. Make a real change! Our children!
Now this, I find this clip, I couldn't stop watching this clip last night because I was trying to work out sort of many different aspects to it. I don't think there's a suggestion that this is connected to the ensuing violence, but what do we think he could have been referring to when he says our children? Do you think, I felt that there is some aspect in this, and I think there is a connection between what kicked off quickly yesterday and the Leeds, you know, remember the riots a couple of weeks ago in Leeds? The fact that there, you know, this idea that you can have a tinderbox the tinderbox sort of feeling of, a disconnect between the haves and the have-nots. Someone comes up from London. Now, I think, I felt for Keir Starmer. I mean, what can Keir Starmer do there? He's the Prime Minister. He's come up. He's paid his respects. It's...
If he hadn't, all hell would have broken loose.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like you say, it's
not
a
a time
child's
that he
tribute.
can stand there talking about anything political. But,
No.
I mean, that was obviously a very impassioned plea there. But how can we possibly know what he meant and where that was coming from? We just don't know. I mean, it could have been, like you say, this terrible north-south divide. Just. How many children is it that live below the poverty line in this country was quite shocking. It could have been something to do with that. It could have been violence on the streets not being attended to. It could have been the lack of mental health services. There's so much discontent, isn't there, that actually any individual could read that as meaningful to them and their own,
Amy Fenton says it. Yeah, Amy Fenton. That's a perfectly simple way of sort of describing it: anger and hopelessness. Now, and I think the reason it kind of seems like a sort of back to front way kind of approach in the story, because of course the story this morning is the riots, the violence, the aggression towards the police, 6 police forces having to be scrambled into this area. The English defence.
I wonder if there was any police there that had fought off the guy the day before.
Well, this is the other part of it that you just sort of think, well, at what point has anyone stopped to think that the police minutes ago were dealing with what would have also been for the police one of the most traumatic events that they've ever dealt with? I mean, I
presume they wouldn't have been. They'd have been put off duty. But I mean, why were they attacking the police? I don't understand anything that was going on with their brains.
Stephanie Wheeler makes a good point. Emotions are running so high because of Manchester Airport, Leeds, now Southport, as well as other situations happening around the Northwest. It's simmering and is so fragile right now, which is precisely, you've hit the nail on there, Dan. I think that's precisely why.
That tinderbox
situation.
Yeah,
the idea that a spark can inflame anything speaks to the idea that clearly the English Defence Force, the police have said, the government have said, were involved in last night's riots. They fanned the flames of a completely fraudulent connection between a local mosque. So they essentially, 12 members of a mosque were kind of held hostage and the police had to protect them.
Imagine how terrifying that was to be stuck in that mosque. God almighty. Because they cared for nothing. They were hurling bricks at the police. They were going to do anything, weren't they?
Yeah. So I'm just going to show you some of the photos from the night. I mean, this is some of.
And this is because presumably
there's a police officer with blood on his face. He's been hit really badly.
There's a police officer with a broken nose.
You can see that guy at the front having the.
I mean, look at this poor policeman just stood here
with a truncheon.
With just his truncheon. Look at this. That must have been petrifying. Oh my God. Imagine you're looking at that crowd. Oh my God.
I mean, it does bring back sort of memories of the Troubles, doesn't it, in Northern Ireland?
That is horrendous.
And look, I mean, you're faced with a baying crowd of kind of masked.
I don't think anyone that is masked there is going to get away with this. I think that's the thing. I do think they're going to throw the book at these guys because it's just outrageous.
So
they've got into their heads.
So they got into their heads,
this 17-year-old boy's parents are Rwandan. That they would go and attack a mosque.
Now, Erin Bullimore, I said exactly this to Nadia last night. Why isn't the EDL classified as a terrorist organisation?
We were talking about this. Why isn't it, Erin?
Yeah, last night I said when they turn up, they cause terror. They promote and share and spread hate. They intentionally go out to scare, as you say, and intimidate minorities. Often attack people. They're a blight on this country. It's astonishing.
Why is that?
And I put a little kind of poll on our Instagram, Coffee Moaning stuff, asking, what do you think the cause of this is? Because when people say it's social media, there's this idea that social media is somehow operating sort of on its own. People are putting the content into social media. When people say Facebook and Twitter created this, no, the people typing into Facebook and Twitter created this. Yes, you can criticize technology for being able to spread the message far and wide, but I've noticed it creeps into a lot of these things where people start to say it's social media that did it. Hang on a minute, like there's no social media only does it in this sort of instance. I'm not talking about, industrial bot farms and factories, but But an event like yesterday, the disinformation that was disseminated and shared amongst people will have been individuals going, go for the local mosque. And so local groups, racist groups, are seeking to take advantage of any moment like this. And it's the simple conflation that, like you say, they've literally made the conflation of the 17-year-old is a child, was born in this country as a child of a Rwandan couple who escaped the genocide in Rwanda. They apparently, I've read a profile of the family, incredibly sort of, the dad's a taxi driver, the mum is at home. You know, people know the family, they've seen the kids grow up.
They say he's the quietest boy. Hardly ever saw him.
So, of course, something's gone wrong. Of course, something needs to be dealt with. Of course, it's reprehensible. Yes. Of course, this is the most appalling act that could have ever happened. But the fact that some
even pause
idiots
for 1
decided
second and think this is anything other than insanity.
Yeah, but it reminded me. I also said
this is an insane person that has gone completely mad.
Yeah.
And this has got nothing to do with any individuals outside us. And the point is,
Faith Goodman, Rwanda is a Christian country.
They're not even Muslim. It's just that idea, well, everybody that's out of this country is a Muslim, therefore a terrorist. It's just...
So even the connection is stupid. The connection is so moronic. It just beggars belief. So here's some other footage.
This is the report on LB's Queen. You know, they'd met at a pub. There was no talk of the children that lost their group. There was no talk of the children lost. There was no flowers, no teddies, no nothing. All the other people that had been coming to pay their respects. It wasn't even just, you know.
This is the Guardian's report. This is more footage.
Oh my God! Oh my God!
I always wonder what's in this.
How many people have been arrested?
39 police officers have been injured. Far-right activists are promoting hate online. Let's just pause there for a moment. Social media wasn't doing it. The far-right activists were using social media.
And if they didn't have social media, they'd have passed it or phoning each other or WhatsApping them. I mean, look at this police. I'd be running away. They are brave, man. They are brave. Tommy, run off.
Tommy, who's done a run. Of course, meanwhile, a third, tragically, at the back of all of this is, and there are still, you know, adults and other children in critical conditions.
And this is going on. This
is going on. And the third victim tragically died yesterday. And there's the names of the 3 girls. Just so distressing.
What's this? GMB said that the original tweet post came from America and the name was made up. There aren't really any words, are there?
There aren't any words.
There aren't any words.
I'm going to show you a clip that kind of one should, you know, it's a weird one. This clip, you don't know whether you should laugh or not laugh. But here's one of the protesters. Look for the man on the far right, who, not the first man who appears on the far right, but the next man who kind of goes up.
Point him out, Mark.
He goes up to the kind of police in a swaggery kind of mocking process.
And he's swaggering up to the police and sort of gesticulating at them, really close up to them, actually, isn't he?
Yeah.
And then...
So keep watching that guy in the grey.
This guy here.
Yeah.
And then he gets hit by a brick in his chest, then on his head, and then in his body. Oh my God!
Someone just said that is divine justice. I mean, he didn't look the full ticket as he was heading over.
I think he looked a bit drunk. In my opinion, I have no idea, and I cannot say that. But in my opinion, he looks a little worse for the wear.
So again, you know, I think the part of all of it that's just so, like you say, so distressing and upsetting is this is all happening off the back of the tragedy, the trauma,
More
the families,
violence, more violence. Imagine you've been involved in whatever way it is, whether you are, you know, police or medics or families of or passers-by or all those, or the heroes that try to do something, and then this kicks off as well.
Patrick Salt, these are the same people who said last week that the boy in Manchester deserved to be stamped on because he attacked a policewoman.
It's all just so messed up.
It's all got so messed
weird.
up because any violence from anyone is wrong. You know, attacking the policewoman shouldn't have happened, but the stamping on the head shouldn't have happened.
But then they're throwing massive great bricks at the police.
Yeah, exactly, and it's just, you know, exactly. I mean, it's just none of it makes any sense whatsoever.
You can't reason with crazy. You just can't.
No, and I've just seen this footage, which I've just got, which is the same area in Southport this morning.
Oh God! Look at that. Poor people that live in that street.
Apparently, they all screamed at each other, "Pull the brick wall down so we can throw the brick."
There's someone's brick wall's been pulled down as well.
Yeah.
Oh my God! And it's deserted. Look. Having the children in the house, like they would have been. Well, anyone, not just children. You wouldn't know that wasn't going to come into your house next, would you?
Absolutely. And as Sean Roche says, these men had travelled to Southport from other places. They all ran to get the last trains home. No thought for the families. Radicalised, being worried about the radicalised. Yeah. Very good. Very well put. Yeah. Just tragic. Just absolutely tragic. So yeah, and as I say, we've sort of said who the details. We're still to hear yet more detail. They are investigating the house. The teenager who committed the crime, their house is still under, sort of a cordon and being investigated for any other. And
presumably that family will have to be moved into some sort of like safety, I would think.
Yeah. Aaron Bullimore, once again, in response to the stabbing, no, it isn't. This has nothing to do with those children. They're just racists who want any excuse to attack Muslims. Well, exactly. I mean, it put me in mind of, do you remember that awful time when there were sort of vigilante gangs wanting to kind of seek out local paedophiles, and they mistook the word psychologist
for paedophile.
So they attacked someone who was a psychologist because we're talking about mind-crunchingly stupid. So yeah, that's
the local building firm has been in to start the clear up with the council and residents. Now, this is what we always have to look for. You have to look for the light. This is what psychologists say and how to speak to children. In fact, when you see the most heinous, awful acts. Remember London Bridge? Do you remember that? And it was like there was so much discussion about what you say to your children. And I think it's exactly the same as what you say to adults, which is look for the good. That story, thank you very much. People pull together, building companies coming to do, like London Bridge, when all those people that rushed to help and all that bravery, and it does outweigh the bad people. There are more good people than bad people. It just doesn't feel like that when you see it played out like this.
And Emily Sporrell, who's the Merseyside Police and Crime Commissioner, as she said on Good Morning Britain this morning, she said, there's a strong feeling that members of the English Defence League have used the Southport stabbing to whip up hatred. The violence and abuse towards police officers on Tuesdays was utterly abhorrent and completely unacceptable. It's just awful. Okay, in other sort of news, we've got the Hamas chief the Hamas leader has been, or a Hamas leader, but he's actually the sort of head of the sort of more political wing of Hamas, less the military wing. Ismail Haniyeh, is that how you pronounce it? Ismail Haniyeh. He was taken out, killed, assassinated, targeted in Tehran, in Iran. He was there visiting to commemorate the new president coming in, being sort of ordained, if you like, in Iran. Israel itself hasn't kind of commented on whether they were responsible for it, but it's pretty much assumed and thought that they were responsible for this hit. Now, of course, throughout this, Netanyahu, the Israeli government have said, we will target all Hamas leaders. We will get you all, if you're in Gaza or outside of Gaza. So this will be very much part of, the project by Netanyahu to sort of achieve, I would have thought, at the end of his war aims.
It's like the war on terror. There is no just killing leaders and it ends. There's so many more waiting to come in.
Yeah.
This man had 12 members of his family. He grew up. He'd been imprisoned, hadn't he, in Israel? There, you know, we are seeing the radicalization before our very, very eyes.
And
there will be so many children growing up with so much despair and hate because of what they've witnessed and what's been done to them. So it just goes into the ether, this idea that you get the leaders and then that's it sorted. It was like this obsession with getting Saddam Hussein and then ISIS will disappear. It just doesn't work like that. This is just what the public are sold so that the whatever is going on can continue. But there's not going to be an end to this by getting the leaders. There'll be another one waiting to come in. Don't you think?
Totally. And also, I mean, it's already being reported that there will be someone who will step into his place. I mean, I think one of the issues.
This is the man. You remember we saw him being told that all his children had been killed. His grandchildren, his sons, 12 members of his family were all killed in one day, and we actually saw him being told live, didn't we, when he was doing I think he was in Dubai at the time, and he just nodded his head because when you're brought up with that kind of like brutality, you're desensitized to such a point they totally accept that their family are going to be killed. There's like an acceptance to it. And so and it's the same now. I mean, they've put out statements today saying there'll just be somebody else will come in.
And also the other thing, if you look into the story of this guy, he grew up. He was in a refugee camp. He was, the orphans of today will be the radicalized or the people fighting for the sort of retribution, if you like, the loss of their parents, the loss of their country, the aggression. Until everyone understands that, the bombardment, the genocidal destruction, containment, constraint, apartheid system in Palestine,
the thousands of hostages, Palestinian hostages.
Unless we understand that, unless we all pause and take stock and go, right, everyone is. It's like the worst argument in a relationship where you have to say everyone has to take responsibility for each part of the process and treat each other with space and the same respect that you want to be treated with. And therein lies all the fucking problems with this whole crisis. So you're right. This will not make a dent in the structure of Hamas.
No.
If anything, I think what we're going to look at now is everyone is on tenterhooks because, of course, Iranian sovereignty, if you like, has been once again broken because they've been attacked on their soil.
If Israel, did do this, it'd be weird to think that anyone else did it, but if they did do it, that surely is an act of war. They've gone into Iran.
Well, I mean,
it's scary, guys.
It is getting.
It's really scary.
It's very squeaky.
It's getting very scary. Yeah. What do we always say in our thousands, in our millions? We are all Palestinians because what's going on all over there is going to affect all of us eventually.
Absolutely. So as Iran's Khamenei says, avenging Haniyeh's killing is simply Tehran's duty. So clearly we have escalation.
And what's it done? It will not have dented Hamas. What's it done? It's just an act of, it's just war. They must want war.
It's notional.
It's just notional. It's just all fucking playtime theatre. And in the meantime, the innocents, the civilians, the poor, it's always the fucking poor that suffer the most. They're all caught in the bloody middle of all these psychopathic games.
Absolutely. God. Absolutely. And also apparently this guy was the one sort of aspect of Hamas, apparently, who was all involved much more with all of the kind of negotiations. So a lot of the UAE, Arab Emirate kind of countries have said this is going to really set all of that.
But we know that that's what... we know that Netanyahu doesn't want to come to an agreement. No, exactly. Because the day after the war stops, he has to face his own criminal charges, doesn't he?
Absolutely. In other news, Huw Edwards photographed this morning going into Westminster Magistrates where he's, facing the creation of indecent images. Here's a photograph of him as he goes in. Also the news, which is probably not that surprising, and I think has probably been known to some for a while, that him and his wife have separated, are divorcing. So we're going to hear more about this today, clearly, in terms of God, the nature of what he was, these images, the nature of what's been going on, whatever. I think one of the really telling things about this is whatever kind of aspect of sympathy and empathy he did have around his depression and his mental health issues and everything. You remember those photographs of him walking with his wife? You can't help but look at those images now and just sort of think, oh my fucking Christ, this is so much worse.
What images? We haven't seen any images.
No, we did. We saw images of him looking
of
very
him.
ill.
Sorry, I
very ill
very
with his
images.
very ill with his
Yes.
wife after the whole drama.
Yeah.
And I think that everyone was like, well, okay, if he hasn't done anything criminal at this point.
If this boy, this man, young man, is saying everything was totally fine, that's it. Okay, it's awful that he felt he had to hide that he was gay and he's cheated behind his wife's back and all of this, but he's not done anything illegal. 2 consenting adults.
But now it would appear that he has.
Well, except he still hasn't been found guilty. It is that he's in court today, but it's not looking good, is it?
But
it's not looking good.
And of course, he has 5 children, so the family has just been absolutely decimated here. Decimated.
And the thing is, it's like we know, they're South Londoners. We know people that know them, and know the children and know him, and say I know people that work with him a lot, and everybody says the same thing, the most lovely person. And so I keep thinking of his wife and of course his children. I can't even bear to think what it's like for his children, 5 of them. And I just keep thinking of his wife and thinking, oh my God, he was kind of the nation's sweetheart in a way, wasn't he? He was a safe place for us to land. That voice, that lilting Welsh.
He was avuncular, wasn't he?
Avuncular, yeah, just a proper, just the exact what you want from your news reader. And she knew nothing. And then it's like, we've all got our things, haven't we? Our red line. We would say, like, I've said this before. I've said this on Loose Women, and people have gone, God, what? I've said, if Mark, we've worked bloody hard at this marriage for 20 years. It's been hard work, a lot of it, and a lot of it's been amazing, but a lot of it's been really hard work. And if Mark had a mad night and was like unfaithful, I wouldn't immediately go, okay, that's our marriage over. I just wouldn't. I think it could be very different if it actually happened. And people are like, God, is that not your red line? That's my absolute red line. And then it's like, well, what is your red line? What is your red line?
Well, I think there are some
something like this is an absolute red line.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolute. There is no discussion.
Like your whole life has been a lie, if you were.
But exactly, Victoria. But imagine that. It's like she will have felt as confident as I feel about you,
exactly.
that would never happen.
Exactly.
Or as confident about any man that is in my inner circle, somebody that I care about, somebody I love, whether that's family. Faith. I would never imagine that. And this is why there's just been such a ricochet effect for all these people that know him, whether it's teachers that taught his kids, whether it's, people that production that have worked with him. They're just going, it's because you would never have thought it.
Well, it's just the most awful possible realization.
You just question everyone.
Precisely, violence and abuse is a red line. I mean, and the terrible thing, you're right, Catherine Cronin. I mean, Faith Goodman makes a good point. I think clarity needs to happen. Did he make them or share them? I mean,
I don't think it will make any difference.
No.
Oh, make them as in actually film them.
Yeah.
We think that. I mean, it's not. It's this
Harvey,
use of the word "make" is we were talking about yesterday. Is it means that you can share. That means sharing them all.
I mean, as I understand it, a lot. For example, in recent statistics around kind of creation of I hate to use the phrase, even child porn and all that. By all accounts, if you're under a certain age and you take an image of yourself and you send it to someone,
that would be seen.
I think legally that's the creation. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, it's.
But you
really have to talk to your youngsters because they could be doing something that, you'd wish they weren't doing, but not realising that actually it could be breaking all kinds of laws.
So we don't know the full detail, but ostensibly, yes, in the the cold facts of the matter are that would be a red line. That would, I think. But
I'd also say, though you said earlier, and of course, they've divorced. Not necessarily. People don't always, do they?
Well, no. I mean, I'm thinking of Rolf Harris's wife. Stood by him to the very end,
and his daughter.
I mean, what I never understand with that is when the proof is sort of incontrovertible, when you can't escape the kind of the judgment or the facts or the testimonies. How do you kind of get past it. I just don't even if say you trust that there's even if you trust that there's an element to the story that no one in the world knows, that they don't get the full story, and you know this, how do you still get round it? Do you know what I mean?
Because I think what you're talking about there is unconditional trust.
Right.
So if there is no photo, then that's not a red line.
Yeah.
That's about. It's like if somebody came to you and said something about me that was completely, unbelievably way out of anything that you would ever imagine that I could do. You would blindly trust me unless you saw it.
Yes, you start from that position. And I think that, to be fair, I think that's what his wife has done here, hasn't she? I mean, they've stood alongside each other, and it's that tragic kind of drip
He's
effect.
also the father of her children. So, I
mean, how does that play out?
Oh, my God, my heart just absolutely aches for her.
How does that play out?
And, of course, the children that are not their children, of course their children, but the children that have been a part of this, the actual porn. You know, it's oh my God, it's the most awful bloody story every which way you look at it, isn't it? But yeah.
Okay, we're gonna just move. I just want to pop up. We've been talking a lot about Kamala. Is that right? Kamala.
So think calm.
Calm. Kamala Harris.
No, listen.
Kamala.
Think of calm. CALM.
We still can't get it.
Kamala.
She says Kamala.
No, she says Kamala.
Didn't she say comma?
Kamala. Calm.
Kamala.
We decided this at the end of yesterday.
So Kamala Harris, a lot of people are happy with, her kind of doing very well in the polls. Their moniker, the Democrats, is going to be Donald Trump is weird. Donald Trump is weird.
I think it's a really good
it's
PR
very clever.
Because
anyway, I'm not too sure if the audio on this is too loud. I had to rip this from somewhere, but check this out.
So the momentum in this race is shifting. And there are signs that Donald Trump is feeling it.
You don't like that.
You may have noticed. So last week, you may have seen, he pulled out of the debate in September he had previously agreed to.
Yes,
So here's the thing. Here's the funny thing about that. So he won't debate. But he and his running mate sure seem to have a lot to say about me. And by the way, don't you find some of their stuff to just be plain weird? Well, Donald.
Oh.
I do hope you'll reconsider to meet me on the debate stage.
Right.
Because as the saying goes, if you've got something to say, say it to my face.
Oh my God, I love
So basically, if you've got something to say it.
Do you know what
to me.
You know what I would say just then? She seems like the most natural. She wasn't reading any of that.
No.
It felt like, she's an excellent autocue reader, but it just felt very natural, didn't it?
Yeah, me
Felt
too.
very
You're absolutely
organic.
right. The best thing that she can do is just keep calling
With a smile.
for a debate. Just keep saying, "Come on,
Come on.
let's debate." Really good thing on the News Agents podcast
What
last
reason
night.
has he given for pulling out?
I don't think he has. He wants it to happen on Fox, where they're going to be a bit more favourable. I don't think he will. He's now saying, "I'll do a debate. I'll do a debate." But yeah, I mean, interesting on the News Agents last night. Emily Maitlis talking about why are we calling her a first name? Is it kind of patronising that we call sort of a female politician by her first name? Why don't we just call her Harris?
Because but there's always different. It's funny, isn't it? It's like Boris. We called him Boris, and everyone was like, "Well, why should he get called Boris? He should be called Boris Johnson."
Well, do you know what they seized upon last night as the reason, which I thought was quite interesting?
What?
They said, I think John Sopel, who I really like, he said, "I think we just seize upon whichever name, forename or surname, is just a little bit more unusual."
Yeah.
So he said like Harris,
Yes.
not that unusual.
Yeah.
Joe, not so Biden.
Yeah.
You know,
I don't think it is about sexism at all.
Right.
I think it's just we've always done it, and
Yeah.
it's weird. I think he's right. I think we hang on to the name that is the most defining.
yes.
Kamala, like every time, like
Yeah.
it's a debate on how to
Yeah,
say the
yeah,
bloody
it's
thing.
completely. Okay, so we're going to pop up some images that you might like. Budgie smugglers. What do budgie smugglers make you feel? I've always hated.
Does anybody like budgie smugglers? You know, if you go to a public
Yeah.
a swimming pool in France, you have to
I
wear
know,
them
and I don't want to.
because they don't want dripping shorts.
But they are much
I must admit,
more,
I don't like it when men get in with these shorts right down to here in a pool. I don't
But
know
isn't
what.
that more concealing?
No, it's not really about that. It's just like, I don't know. It's just a bit. It's a lot of cloth with a lot of stuff on it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, budgie smugglers are tight shorts or
Oh my
speedos
God.
where you don't leave much to the
It's
imagination.
the Olympics.
I think they suit men who've got remarkably toned surrounding bodies.
But I mean, I suppose. I mean, is this?
He doesn't look real.
Is this as odd as, like you're always saying, you know, it's weird if you've totally got your boobs so you can see them. People
Yes.
can't help but look. Is this the equivalent, I suppose?
Oh,
It's
someone
like,
just said it's the curly hair sticking out the side. Oh, no. It's Tom Daly. I mean, the thing about them is
they are
people
tiny.
they're tiny, but people often think, oh, it's a way of showing off. I think quite the opposite. I think budgie smugglers don't show you off. They show they're often, it's a very diminished package. I mean, don't get me wrong, not always, because look at him.
Oh my God. Is that
He's-
him getting his medal?
That's a euphemism. That's what it feels
Oh
like to
my
get gold.
Do you think somebody's put that on?
I don't know, but it's
I think
literally
they've drawn
pointing
that. Oh
upwards.
no, that must have been fiddled with.
Yeah, I
must
think
have
it got
been.
fluffed. I think maybe it
No,
has.
I'm in the picture.
You know, I think it
Not
was
the
certainly
penis.
fiddled. I think he's definitely right. I'm going to say something quite honest. As men, when you're wearing this kind of stuff, you will make
Bye,
an
Martina.
You will make an adjustment. You will make an adjustment.
Where do you adjust it to?
Well, so that it doesn't look like an acorn.
What do you do?
No, I
He
don't
needs
mean
to fold that one.
Well,
I
no, he
think
needs to
it's
tuck
just-
that under
he
the.
needs to
under
fold
the,
it. in
But
two.
there you go, all together. I mean, I don't know. They just look sort of quite infantile.
But I'm just trying
And
to
it's
think
become
about.
they've become the must-have accessory for Gen Zers, apparently.
I'm just trying to think about when you say the same about women and boobs. Oh, that's funny. God, he's had to go 3-dimensional.
Yes, exactly.
Is it the same? Oh, dear.
No, look,
No,
this-
he's got a cup in.
Yeah,
Oh,
he's
yeah.
showing the embarrassment cup, they call it. So you put that in to make you look
No.
like you've got a todger.
This is really like the same thing as boobs,
But
isn't
then
it?
look, see,
You
I
can't help
like,
but
I
look.
quite like short
I can't help
shorts.
but look. But I don't want to look. I'm not looking because it
We can barely see
feels
that one.
good.
Can you? Does it? Nads, every word you're using is wrong. I'm not looking because it feels.
Well, no,
good.
you know what I mean. It feels good to see it. Oh no, that's
No?
enough. No budgies for me. Budgies in cages, please,
Poor old budgies. Because
with millet,
I've often wondered the end of why do they look like budgies? I suppose
with a
it's-
millet and a swinging
It's
mirror.
the bollocks, isn't it? That is the body, and it's the helmet is the head. Where's the beak? What's the beak? Anyway, big bulge, big budgie smugglers to be. Oh, yeah, horrible. Some of them look good, says Pauline Mulvey.
Pauline Mulvey's up for them.
Sadie C. Oh, I have a look. Oh, there we go. All right, guys, can't beat shorts. Ashley, I'm with you. Guys, have a great day.
Have a good day.
Lots. Oh, hang
Bye.
on. End stream.